Welcome to the Runna Podcast. I'm Ben, head coach.
And I'm Anya, international marathon runner. And we're proud to be the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide.
We'll be having truly insightful conversation with truly inspirational guests, as well as bringing you tips and tricks for runners of all abilities.
Today on the podcast, we spoke to one of the world's most renowned and well-loved comedians, Romesh Ranganathan.
He got into his running around 3 years ago and has since run the London Marathon the past 2 years, but this year went on to shave more than 30 minutes off his time after finding Runna and training very hard the last few months. We had quite possibly the most unhinged conversation we've ever had on the podcast. You're going to absolutely love it. Let's get into the episode. Hey Romesh, how are you?
Hey Ben, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. This is like the natural start. It's good, isn't it? Hey, hi Anya, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, thanks.
Yeah.
So, you've just done your second marathon.
Yes.
But we want to learn why you went on your first ever run. Talk us through what's got you started with running.
Well, so when I was like 14, 15, I was like super overweight. And I remember that's when I first started thinking about doing any running at all. And we were really broke, and so the gym was out of the question. We didn't have money for anything really. So I was like, what is free? And the answer to that is running. So I just started going out running like round the estate, and it worked in terms of like I lost a bit of weight, but I found it agonizing. You know, I would just run full tilt and then be absolutely exhausted and have to stop for ages. And then as soon as I'd recovered, I'd start going again. And so that, although it kind of helped, that was what I associated with running. It was sort of trauma coded to me. Do you know what I mean? Because I just thought it just is you running until you feel like you want to throw up, and then you wait until you don't want to throw up anymore, and then you start running again. And so I was like, I don't want to, so then I'd stayed away from it for a long time. And then somebody had said to me, you should try running. I think it was like, maybe a couple of comedians. Actually, Sean Walsh, who I'm mates with, had started going running, and he was talking about it for mental health. He was saying it's like a really good thing. If you're getting stressed with work and stuff, he goes, I just go out for a run, you should try it. And so I started again a few years ago. And again, I kept having this experience of like running for a bit and then feeling horrible. And then somebody else said to me, so it sounded I was getting emotional about it there. Somebody else said to me, what the key is, run comedically slowly. He said, it just really go so slow that it would be embarrassing to be seen publicly. That's how slow you want to go, and then you'll build up your distance from then. And that might be the best running advice I've ever had, because I then was like, okay, and so I started doing that, and then I sort of fell in love with it, but I suddenly realised why people were into it, you know.
So maybe we need to rename Easy Pace inside the app with like sillily slowly.
Yeah, just like embarrassing pace or something like that, or do you know what I mean? Something like I don't know, but I was just like, it was just plodding. I discovered plodding, and which I hadn't ever done before, and then I remember I started adding to my distance, and this was only like maybe 3 years ago. I really started to. This is genuinely true. I ran for like 9 kilometers for the first time in my life, and I phoned a mate to tell him about it. I just ran 9 kilometers. Obviously, they don't care, but it felt like such a significant moment to me that I just didn't think it was inside the realms of possibility that someone like me would run that distance. Do you know what I mean? I did it slowly, but still, running without stopping for 9 kilometers felt like wild. I felt like I'd moved into a different species. Do you know what I mean? So I sort of carried on from there. But yeah, that was the big change for me.
And I guess, do you feel that now running comes any more easily to you than it did when you were 14? Because in a way, like, it's so surprising potentially now that you're past, let's say, the physical peak in your age. Let's say we're after 38, which is maybe probably the latest we're going to do our fastest marathon time, let's say, that you're starting to get fitter and maybe your body age is getting younger.
Yeah, I'm just not of that background, you know. I guess like I'm kind of I've just not ever seen myself as like physically able to do anything. Like I do League of Their Own, and on League of Their Own, we do sports challenges, and that's supposed to be you're seeing like somebody off the street have a go at this stuff. But I'm not even that. I'm like subhuman with regards to like I'm just so poorly coordinated, been so unfit for all of my life. So yeah, it's not something that I thought I'd ever be. But like getting into running, I feel like it's changed. Look, I'm not a fast runner, and I don't think I ever will be. But I have got to a point now where running is like a big part of my life, and it's like a mental health thing. It's helped me become fitter. But the thing that I never expected is when I'm going on like just an easy run or a long run, even during the marathon training when I was going on my long runs on a Sunday, I was so comfortable running that I would start thinking about, I wouldn't be in the run, and that's something that I'd never imagined happening. For me, if you go for a run, I'd always thought you're just in the agony of the run. Like that's all you can think about. That's the only thing that's on your mind. But like, I'm about to start writing a new stand-up tour, and the idea for that show came to me while I was on a run. I'll suddenly start thinking about creative ideas, and it's a really good opportunity to just have a bit of thinking time. And that is, to me, that's mad. I never thought that would be the case.
I guess so much of your life is with other people, being a bit of a performer. And then when you're not, you're a dad, you're at home with your family.
Yeah.
Is your running your like alone time? Do you like that? And do you kind of like that it's almost a level playing field, that it doesn't really, everybody can try running and we're all, doing it at our own pace and it's our own journey? Does that...
Yeah, I feel like... if you just go out for, I try to take up paddle. Are you guys paddle fans?
I'm so bad at it.
I quite like paddle. I played a lot of paddle on the weekend.
Right. So, but the problem with paddle is immediately you are facing the humiliation of showing other people how good you are at paddle. And that, to me, that's a barrier to entry. Do you know what I mean? Like I would love to be able to sort of secretly practice paddle. That's how I treat Mario Kart. Like we often have Mario Kart tournaments at home. I will play secretly and get to a certain level. And that's what I think is good about running, is that you can just go off and like run and nobody's seeing what you're doing. I mean, don't get me wrong, you bump into other runners and people say hello and stuff. And we can get into the etiquette of that later on in the podcast if you want. But it's like a nice fun thing to be able to do on your own. And then when you're ready, you can go running with other people. Do you know what I mean? If you want, but you can keep it secret until then. So I do think it is a bit of my alone time. Although my wife Lisa has started getting into running, and obviously I publicly have to be supportive and happy about that. But there was a part of me that was slightly disappointed because then you go, oh, we're going to go running together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's lots of things that she likes doing without me. And so I think part of me pushing the distance was pushing it to a point where she no longer wanted to join.
Just running away from her.
Yes, I guess so. Do you know what I mean? Or just, going, how far do you think you can go? 8. Well, I was going to go 10, actually, so maybe it's better if we run separately. How far do you want to go? Actually, I'm up to 10 now. I was going to do 15, so maybe we should do it separately. No, I'm only joking. I love you, Lisa.
And I guess so much of your job doing one of the most well-known comedians in the world means that you're so busy, your structure, and you're on so many different TV shows, radio shows, your day-to-day routine and structure must be really quite varied. Do you find that then having the like certainty of running helps with that, or how do you manage to fit it in? Because everyone listening's got to get it in around their 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, but it must be that much harder for someone with such a crazy work schedule as yourself.
Yeah, it is difficult, and but the truth is that it depends how much you want to prioritize it. Like I think that before I started doing running and before I was doing sort of regular exercise, I did say that I didn't have the time. But the truth is, it's just how much you prioritize it. So like I was able to keep running, while I was touring. I'm able to keep running when I'm doing TV bits, and it's just about making sure you've got that little slot, and I wasn't prioritizing it before, as now it sort of has to go in. To me, it's like fitting in brushing your teeth. Like it has to It has to fit in some, and that doesn't always work. And you know, there's also the thing of like when you first get into something, you become so obsessed with it that you do it to the exclusion of all other things, and then there's a little bit of to and fro as to finding what your balance is with it. Because when I started going to the gym and started like running, I was doing it, and it's like I have to do it. And then if work took over and I wasn't able to do it, I'd be like, oh my God, that's 2 days now I haven't done. Like, this is bad. This is really bad. I'm not that neurotic now. I think you have to just accept that you're fitting it in whenever you can, but it is part of my routine. But I just feel like if you prioritise it, you can kind of make it happen. I'm in a really privileged position where, you know, wherever I go, there's sort of, well, I mean, I say I'm in a privileged position. Wherever I go, there tends to be a gym nearby, but there's always, you know, it's a great way to look at a new place. Like whenever we go somewhere, you know, I've been doing a lot of filming abroad recently, and one of the great ways to sort of have a look around a town is to go for a run around there. So, you know, it's really good to be able to just turn up, plot a route, and then just head out. So I have just made it more of a core part of my routine. It's sort of a non-negotiable that I'll go running at some point. The number of times I go running is always up for discussion. I say discussion, nobody wants to talk to me about it, but like based on how busy you are with work, but I'll always go at some point. And I feel like that's kind of the balance I've settled into.
I remember you telling me, and I was really like proud because you were like, you really did train for this London Marathon.
Yeah.
And you did Rob and Run, like the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
And you like said to your team, like, I need time in my schedule for run.
Yeah.
I need help with like the routes. And I remember, well, they probably thought some like
I know, I mean,
elite marathon runners.
Yeah, I know. The level of demands I put in are so disproportionate to the to my level of ability. You know, like imagine saying to a TV crew, I need training equipment, I need routes for me to be able to complete train for my elite event. So basically, they didn't have a gym at the hotel. We went to San Moritz. They didn't have a gym at the hotel we were staying in. So they told that, I don't know. I didn't ask for this, Anya. Okay, I just said, whenever I'm doing any TV, I said it'd be great if there was a gym. I'm not super demanding it. If there isn't, I'm not going to kick off. But I said it'd be great if there was a gym. Anyway, the production team, because they're so lovely, phoned ahead.
Well, they built you a whole gym.
but they phoned ahead and said he needs a gym. One of the guys that we're filming with needs a gym. So they like took one of their function rooms and like hired in.
Oh my God.
No.
They got one of their function rooms and like hired in equipment, and so then they said, they've got a sort of a makeshift gym for you, and so it was like a meeting room but with dumbbells in it, right? But it was like down the end of this, like it was quite sinister actually, because I turned up at the hotel and they go, Rom, they set up this like gym space for you, and I was like, wicked. So then I said to the guy at reception, I said, I heard you've set up a gym. First of all, there was a look of shock as he realised it was me that had requested it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't this elite athlete he was expecting. They'd gone to a lot of trouble for somebody to look really mid. Do you know what I mean? And then he sort of took me down this really dark corridor. It's like this part of the hotel that I don't think was regularly used. And as we were going further and further, I thought, this guy is going to kill me, man. Like it wasn't even lit where we were going. When he took me out to this back room, and it was like, there were like dumbbells on a couch. Like it was like they just put exercise equipment around this meeting room, and so I used that. And it's quite difficult to run because it's skis. You know,
Yeah.
I think it could have been even more amazing. You tell them you need like an hour for your run,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, cool. And then you turn up and there's like a whole pack of pacers outside.
Yeah.
Like, they're all in like their skinny vests, ready to like run.
that would have been a nightmare. But yeah, so I'm very lucky that they sorted that out. But yeah, I have managed to train properly this time round.
So I guess your opinion and your approach to running changed a little bit recently, as in you put more pressure on the time.
Yeah.
And like training.
Yeah.
How has that changed what you think about running?
It's really complicated because you and I had a text conversation just after the London Marathon, and to be honest with you, I was slightly gutted, I think, for like maybe a couple of days afterwards, and I was very honest with you about that. I just felt a little bit I felt a little bit deflated because I'd set this time and because I trained properly and the training had gone well and I'd done everything I thought I was supposed to do. But and so then the race didn't go the way I wanted it to, and I remember being gutted at the time, like when I knew that what was happening, and then afterwards I just felt like I felt a bit embarrassed. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, I've trained, like I really pushed it, and like loads of my friends were texting me, like my tour manager texted me going, like, I've seen how hard you've been training, like they've been encouraging. But then you're thinking about all those people when you don't hit it. Do you know what I mean? And like, it feels weird because obviously I did it quicker than I did it the previous time. But I had this time in my head that was that I think was achievable. But you know, you sent me a very nice message, which I won't go into. It's personal between Anya and myself. But I've sort of become a bit more philosophical. I do think that I've flitted between how along a lot of different positions. Now, when I started running, I just run for enjoyment. And last year, I didn't really care massively what my time was. I was just scared I wasn't going to finish, to be honest with you. I mean, this one, I did care about my time. And it made me a bit cynical, to be honest. And I know I'm talking to two people that can run it very quickly. It made me a bit cynical about people that really go for fast times, because I was just like, that's, you know, you can become obsessive and blah, blah, blah. And I just thought that whole way of thinking was a bit elitist. But as I like started using the Runner app and as I was talking to you, I realised that actually nobody's been exclusive about it. You're just running whatever time you know, I'm targeting my time. You two are targeting your times. And we can all have a chat about running. We're just operating at different levels, and that's absolutely fine. But then after I didn't make the time, I was like, oh, why did you even give yourself a time, idiot? That's not what it's supposed to be about. Why are you giving yourself a time? And I was a bit down on myself. But actually, I do think I would do it going for a time again. I thought to myself, I've ruined for the day afterwards, and I realise I'm being slightly waffly, but for the day afterwards, I thought I'd ruined running for myself by giving myself a target time. That's the truth of it, because I hadn't been disappointed before, and now I was disappointed. And why have I ruined something I really love by putting a target or putting this arbitrary target on it? But then what sort of occurred to me afterwards is that if you don't put some sort of target on it, there are no stakes. Do you know what I mean? Like, actually what kind of makes it fun is having a bit of jeopardy, and like, if you make it, great. If you don't make it, also that's great. You've aimed for it. And so I've sort of become a bit more philosophical about it. But can I be honest with you? The truth is, I don't like pain, right? I don't like discomfort, and that is why I didn't make my time. Is the honest truth. I was running with James Cooper, who was like helping me out. Slightly insulting, you know. The reason he ran with me is he said, I want to take it easy for this marathon.
So James Cooper's, he ran 100 marathons.
Well, he ran 366 marathons. So he ran a marathon every day of last year, and then he got a place in the London Marathon. And then I'd been I've been doing like weekly runs with him, and he said, "Oh, I don't really fancy racing it, so I'll run with you," which is, you know, it's sort of insulting, isn't it? I mean, I know he can run it faster than I can, but it's horrible to have that. To have somebody say, "I'd really love to have an easy day."
While you're at your absolute limit.
Yeah, I am going to take it easy while you nearly kill yourself. Is that okay? But he was sort of talking to me through the second half, and the second half, I really kind of collapsed. I did struggle, you know, like, and I stopped a couple of times because my legs, I was hurting so much. And James said to me, "Oh, you're not." He sort of got me to describe what I was going through. This sounds really weird. He got me to describe what I was going through, and he said, "This is not. You've not injured yourself. This is just discomfort." And I hadn't pushed myself to that level of discomfort before. And actually, the truth is, if I'd have carried on harder than I did, I would have been fine. You know, the thing he kept saying to me is, as soon as you cross the finish line. He wasn't going to me, I need you to push harder. He was just saying to me, as soon as you cross the finish line, this pain will stop. Yeah. I promise you this pain will stop. It doesn't feel like it right now, but as soon as you cross the finish line, it will stop. And I didn't believe him because it felt so horrible. And so I sort of, you know, I didn't push myself maybe as hard as I could have done. It felt like I was really pushing it. But then he was right. As soon as I crossed the finish line, it did stop. And my recovery was fine, and I think that's testament to the training and everything. Like by the next day, I was a little bit sore, but totally like I was able. I left to do a week's filming, and I was totally fine. But I think it was a lesson. I feel like I've now, even though I didn't make the time, I think it was like a learning experience in terms of I now know if I was to go again, I know what the discomfort is supposed to feel like, and I know I'd push myself harder next time. I wasn't used to it. Do you know what I mean? And to me, I just think if it starts to hurt, that's a signal to stop.
I think also like having a goal that is inherently hard and scary is probably also what helped keep you so accountable and push you through that training. And that's then also what led to you having a really meaningful PB. Yeah. And so I think like it's also the cruel nature of doing something as hard as a marathon is what makes it feel like this, where you can describe torture for during a few hours and now look back on it as like how great it was and whatever in this kind of weird, sick, twisted way. And that's because a marathon is just the right level of hard. Whereas it's nearly impossible, but it's not quite. Yeah. And I think like that's exactly what you did by putting yourself on a pretty much near on impossible task of taking an enormous amount of time off your marathon. Yeah. And then it still led you to doing an amazing job. Yeah. And now you've still got this like itch that you know it's still pretty hard. It may well be impossible. Yeah. But you could maybe do it. And that that level of excitement is probably what will keep you motivated and hopefully keep you healthy, active, and keep you running for years to come.
Well, I do sort of think it's a bit like stand-up, which is like in terms of it's easy to start running and it's difficult to master. And that's what I think about stand-up. And I feel like I came out of that I was really gutted the day after. I was like, why have I done all this training? That was what my inner monologue was saying. Why have you done? I'd say outer monologue as well. I banged on about it to my wife, but I was like, why have I done all this training to like fail? But the truth is, I think you sort of hit the nail on the head. It's like very eloquently put, if you don't mind. It was really good, actually. What you did there. But
well, I don't agree with what you said about stand-up is easy to start and hard to master. Yeah. How the hell do you start?
Yeah,
being like June, we help you get good at running, but we need some help at being funnier.
Yeah,
I feel like there is no better skill in the world than being funny. So I'd love to know how to start.
Listen, I can help you. Look, you've helped me run a marathon. I'd love to help you do stand up.
Well, please.
If you want to make the deal now.
Well, you do your next marathon and I'll do a stand up.
Okay, fine. It's a deal. Is that a deal? Can we shake on it?
We can shake on it.
Okay, great. Got it. Okay, there you go. That is on the Runner podcast. Ben is gonna.
I'll help you invite the runners.
Oh yeah, we can do that. We can make it. I'd love that. I would love that. That's a deal now. I'll help you come up with the material. I'll help you.
How much do I get? Like a whole 4-month training block?
Yeah, I'll put together an app. Eventually, hopefully, sell it to Strava. Okay, do it. I'm really excited about that. That's the best thing that's come out of this, man.
I feel like my heart rate has never gone higher on this podcast before.
What is he agreeing to?
But no, I think that I think you're exactly right. Aiming towards a target is good. I think that had I had no target, what became clear very early in my training was that I was going to be able to cover the distance. So then if I didn't have a challenging target, I think I would have started to ease off. Do you know what I mean? And the truth is, knowing that I had a challenging target kept me honest in terms of my training. But it was gutting. But I do think that's part of what makes it fun. I have gigs that go terribly. And I think that's why stand-up's so addictive. No matter how good you think you are at it, I can go out on stage, even now, like I've mastered it. I haven't at all. But I can go out on stage next week and have a terrible time. It won't go how I want it to. And that's how I know that I love stand-up, is that I want to keep going and back and doing it. And I know, that even though I went and did the marathon and the race didn't go my way in terms of time, I had I really enjoyed it up until it went hellish. And I know that I'm going to carry on running. I just know that I'm going to carry on running as a result.
Everything you just said is exactly what happens to me, exactly what happens to Anya, and everyone in between, faster than Anya and I and slower than you. Everyone has that same feeling, which is that some of the times we go out and set ourselves a hard goal, we can't complete it inherently because it's a hard goal. Yeah. But that means that when we do go on to go and get that hard goal and complete it, it's even more emotive and satisfying. Yeah. And I think at the same time, I think it is also important to remind yourself that you just did a huge PB. You've improved meaningfully on last year.
Yes, that is true.
And I think we can have ambitious goals, but then we also should pause and also be doing proud of also what you achieved.
Yeah, I got a PB, man. I don't know.
How much did you save off last year?
I think 30 something. I can't remember.
So Anya, if you can do the same, train as hard as Romesh, you're going to be the fastest woman of all time.
But the other thing is, I didn't realise, genuinely, I didn't think it hurt you guys. So I thought it only hurts people at my level, and for you, you've just got to a point where you don't feel any discomfort at all. I've since discovered.
But
that's
I
not
think
the
that's
case.
the fantastic thing about running. You go to park run. Everyone is doing 5K.
Yeah.
And there are people who do 5K and they get round in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And they are in absolute misery for 15 minutes. And there are people who do it for 45 minutes and they are in absolute misery for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We've all been through the same thing at the end.
Yeah.
And probably the thing you're speaking to is the people who go a little slower have to endure that pain for longer. So they deserve more kudos.
Yeah, that is true.
But at the same time, we've all been through the same thing. And that's what makes it so amazing and so relatable in a way, is that we've all done the same thing when we go and do a marathon.
Yeah.
And we all have to battle the same hurdles of our head telling us evil things, and our body sometimes finding a new pain, or the stomach or the toilet all go wrong. We all have the same things, and that's what can make it so fantastic.
Yeah, I think I do think that the thing that the mental strength it gives you, I think, is amazing. Like, I was listening, Anya, to you did your you were talking about your London Marathon. Congratulations, by the way. I know the race went exactly your way, so it really was nice to talk. You know, it's nice for you to pretend to empathise, but you've got no idea what I went through. But one of the things you were talking about is like when you're running with a group, or when you're running with Joe, you kind of, you've got somebody giving you positive chat, whereas when you're on your own, you've just got this voice saying, why are you doing this, why are you doing this, why are you doing this? And I have that voice every single one of my training runs. Like as soon as I leave the house, there's a voice in my head going, just stop, man, why are you doing this? Like, you should be working on your stand-up, or like, this is knackering, this is horrible. And so running the marathon, you have that a lot. You have this voice just going, this is really painful, just stop. You don't have to give the money back if you stop. People aren't going to take the money off the charity. Just stop. You can go and like just jump over the barrier, go and do like chat to some people, and then go home, and it'll be fine. So you have that going on. So I do think it is a real. It increases your mental strength as well as your physical. I think.
Yeah.
You mentioned running etiquette.
Yeah.
What's your style? You're on your training run.
Yeah.
Do you intentionally route away from busy streets? Do you try and bump into as many people as possible? Do you notice different cultures in different places you've done your training?
I minimise human contact as much as possible on my runs, to be honest with you. Mainly because I feel incredibly vulnerable when I'm running, because, as you know, I run completely naked. Because it's just you're in like a vulnerable. You're breathing out your arse, aren't you? Basically, so it's like you don't really want to chat to people. But where I run now, a lot of runners. It's quite picturesque. So you do bump into runners, and as the London Marathon was approaching, you'd get people sort of trying to give you like pep talks as you went past and shout, "You can do it, Romesh," and stuff. And so what started to happen was, not because I don't like people. People are great. I just don't want to interact with them on my run. So I'd start to do stuff to try and disguise my appearance. Like, I'd wear a hood on very hot days. I'd started to wear a face mask for a while.
Like a little COVID one?
Yeah, like a COVID mask, but that sort of restricts your breathing. So then what would happen is I'd run without the mask, and then if I saw someone in the distance, I'd put the mask up. But then what that looks like to them is that there's someone in the distance that's seen you, put a mask on to protect their identity, and then started running towards it. It looks like you're about to do something horrendous. So I had to stop doing that. But I've noticed that there's a running group that goes along where I run, and like there is a sense of community that and people sort of have a chat with you as you go past. I'm not good at that, I would say.
And do you nod? Do you smile? Do
I
you
do
wave?
nod,
or do you just cry?
Well, my problem is I listen to music very loud when I'm running, and sometimes people will say, I pretend I can hear what people are saying, and I don't know what they're saying. So because I've got the music up so loud, but I don't want to turn the music off. So some people, genuinely, there are people on my training run that there's a couple of people that I see regularly on, like, when I've been training, and they've talked to me for quite a long time, and that's happened 5 or 6 times. And they don't know, and if they'll listen to this, I've never heard anything they've said to me.
Well, they probably describe themselves to their friends as one of your training partners.
Yeah. Oh, Romesh. Oh, yeah. God, yeah. I chat to him all the time, actually. I tend not to chat at all. And occasionally I've had moments where this sounds really ungracious and ungrateful saying this. I've had a couple of occasions where people have seen me behind them and then waited for me to join me for a section of the run. Can I just say publicly on this, I find that unacceptable. I don't want to run with anyone else unless I've chosen to. I've made excuses to not run with my wife. Why would I want to run with somebody that just happens to live near me? Do you know what I mean? So I've had a couple of people like slow down and then join me for sections. That's been tricky. Only not because of them. They seem nice, but it's just, it's a personal experience.
But the support at London Marathon, you said this, and I've repeated it since. It does make you like people again, London Marathon.
Yeah, and that's something I needed, I really need London Marathon to show me there's a point in other people. No, it was like that. I think the whole thing about. I think that the people that you're running alongside. I mean, I'm taking the piss a bit about not wanting to talk to anyone on my training runs, but like when the people you're running alongside, I think that. When you see some of the reasons that people are running and they might have lost someone or they're doing it because there's a charity that's particularly close to their heart, it's like quite an inspiring... There are so many inspirational stories taking place on that one day. And I think when you engage with that, it's a pretty incredible thing. There's lots... you think about your own training journey, but when you're actually on the London Marathon... you are seeing all these people that have put themselves through months of hardship, of not going to social events, of not drinking for however long because they want to get themselves ready for this day. And then there's that explosion of like, they're doing it now. This thing that this date in the distance they've been working towards, they're doing it now. It's an amazing thing. And then as for the support on the sides, it was unbelievable. Like, I was running with James. He was obviously, he was having one of his easy days. But he said to me, like, he started to get like goosebumps from it because of the level of support and the people shouting for you. And it was just incredible. The only thing I would complain about, if I'm being honest with you, is towards the end of the race, I was really struggling. And like, I was doing that with my face and like people were like shouting my name and I couldn't even raise my hat. I was like, and that, in years gone by, I would have thought that would have been really impressive and I would have been a hero. But Jamie Lang has sort of ruined that by doing those ultra marathons, like because he did 5 in 5 days. He's made running a marathon look like a piece of piss. So then when I was doing that, I was like, oh, is this embarrassing? Because like Jamie Lang did 5 days of this. Do you know what I mean? But I think it just was an amazing. It was you can't help. And I've spent my life trying to not feel anything, but you can't help connecting with that. It's like it's an inspirational day for everybody. It's an amazing thing.
So my question is, did you do the marathon with the hood or the mask?
Unfortunately, I didn't do any of that. But what I did do is I changed my facial hair. I kind of went for like a real prominent tash, and then I wore sunglasses and I had a cap on. But people still did reckon. Well, the truth is, there's always, you're throwing a bit of doubt in there, right? And that's all you need, really, because the good thing about looking slightly different is they go, is that Romesh or am I a racist? And so they don't want to roll the dice on that, because imagine you say Romesh and they go, what? That's a horrible experience. So a lot of, you can dodge a lot of that by
so
just...
Do you sometimes just say what to people on those runs?
Yeah.
That might be better than disguise. Well, you can just be like, oh, not again. Another person thinks I look like Romesh.
Well, I've had people say to me, because some people, they sort of cover themselves by going, have you heard that you look a lot like Romesh Ranganathan? And then I tend to say, yes, I get that a lot. But then that...
You're kind of like not playing your cards because they wanted you to play your cards.
Yeah,
like, that's me. And then you're like, no, you play your cards.
No, let's see if you're willing to back this again.
Yeah. So what's their like return of
most
play
of the time,
there?
sometimes they'll go, it is you, isn't it? And then at that point, I'm not going to continue the charade. Then I'll go, yeah. But sometimes they'll just go, oh, okay, you get that a lot. And I go, yeah. And then they go because they think they've just met someone that looks like Romesh Ranganathan. Once... somebody came up to me and said, do you know you look a lot like Romesh Ranganathan? I said, my standard, I get that a lot. And then she proceeded to tell me what she thought of Romesh Ranganathan, and not all of it was positive. Like she was going, I just think sometimes he can be a bit sneery. Like I like it. I'm on the weakest link because he's sort of a bit more positive. But like on his travel shows, he's just like, oh, I don't like this, and aren't people born? Nah, nah, nah. I just find it a bit boring. And I went, yeah, I know. Anyway, the friend I was with, after she walked off, he just went, you deserved that. That you deserved all of that. It was horrible. Just getting. Imagine somebody come up to you, not realising it's you, and then giving you an honest critique of everything you've done. That's what happened to me.
It's so funny. Can I ask how the high of like one of the best moments in your career, whatever that is, compares to like a high after a marathon? Are they at all comparable?
Yeah, I think they probably are. I think that the second half of I found this one a lot tougher than the last one, partly because I was aiming for a time, but also it's just so hot. But I don't think... I thought it was never going to end. The second half, I thought this is never going to end, and like I had this horrible experience of one of the signs being a kilometre behind what I was expecting it to be. That is one of the worst experiences of my. That genuinely, I think is the lowest I've ever felt in my life, and I include in that my dad going to prison, a house getting repossessed, like that. Seeing 41 instead of 42. I can't tell you how sad it made me. I honestly thought I'm going to fully start crying. Like I'm watching the end of Toy Story 3. Like proper, I'm going to start sobbing, man. I cannot believe that's what the sign says. Because I didn't have prescription sunglasses on, so my eyesight was all over the shop.
So should we start telling people that the marathon, whenever you train with Runner, it's actually 43 kilometres? And then the finish line feeling will be even better.
I'm going to tell you this now. When we're doing filming days, if they tell us that the wrap time is half an hour later than it ends up being, genuinely, I will work with those people for the rest of my life. There's nothing quite like something being over slightly before you. You know, there's obvious exceptions, but the moment. So I thought it wasn't going to end, right? I thought it wasn't going to end. The moment where I saw the finish line, the euphoria of that, I actually would say I've not experienced that in my stand-up career. It was incredible. I was like, there is actually a finish to this. This marathon is longer than I've been led to believe. Okay, because I was looking at my watch. I've done more. I've done over the distance now, so that's insane. Weaving in between people, unacceptable. But it is over, and I felt like a proper spike. It was amazing, better than any other career high.
So I was wondering, you've got 3 kids.
Yes.
And you also spent time as a teacher.
Yeah.
Would you rather any of your kids, if you had to choose a career for them, would you choose them teacher, stand-up comedian, or professional marathon runner?
God, that is such a great question. First of all, stand-up comedian bottom, I would say. That's last. Because I think that...
Because they'll overshadow you.
Yeah, I mean, that's one. One of my kids actually recently said that he think... Imagine hearing this conversation, by the way. Okay, so we're in the car the other day. Our youngest son is 11, 10 coming on 11. Our oldest son is 15. They're talking about what they might do when they grow up. And so our youngest son is quite funny, right? So they were talking about how he could be a comedian. And then my oldest son said to him, don't do stand-up comedy, it's dead, right? So I go, what do you mean? He goes, it's dead. Like, stand-up comedy's over. I said to him, everything you own is paid for by stand-up comedy. And he goes, yeah, Dad. He goes, yeah, but like it's over now. Like nobody, it's done. I said, and by the way, this is 2 weeks after I'd done a show at the O2, right? So I said to him, you came to the O2 show. He goes, Dad, look at the people that come to see you. Like they're on their way, like they're old. Like he goes, nobody young wants to hear somebody go, oh, I think this, and have you noticed that? And what about this? He goes, it's over, it's dead. So I don't think they want to do it, is the first thing. But I do think in order to be really good at stand-up comedy, you have to have something slightly wrong with you. Like all of the comedians that I respect the most are wired slightly incorrectly, or they've had something happen to them, or there's something, they're not fully functional. You know, and they're mentally, there is an issue. Do you know what I mean? Of whatever type or magnitude. So I would like to think that my children are brought up normally enough that they can't become stand-up they're too normal to become stand-up comedians. So stand-up comedy bottom.
Have you brought them up to be professional marathon runners?
It's funny because all the runners that are obsessed that I know, they all have, a lot of them have some kind of trauma, which is why
Really?
they're so
Oh,
good at
maybe
marathon
that's what
running.
it is. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, my eldest son, when I was on holiday last, I was going running, and he came running with me, and that was quite good. That was quite nice.
It's really
So,
awesome.
but in terms of between professional marathon runner, this is how I'm gonna rank it. I think teaching first, because I think it's like a noble profession. You're educating the future masses. Then professional marathon running, because that's also an admirable, inspirational thing to do. And then stand-up comedy, because that's just like a self-obsessed, narcissistic thing that,
But again, so is marathon running. That's self-obsessed narcissistic.
I would argue that stand-up comedian, you help more people than you do being a really fast individual, because you entertain a lot of people, whereas Anya just makes a lot of people jealous.
Oh, that is true, actually. That is true. That
Very
is a good point.
self-absorbed running.
That is a good point. Like, and also, you've done it.
I'm a teacher.
Okay, but what I would say to you is, when I saw, what was the last marathon you ran?
I did Paris in
Yeah.
2:48.
So I saw the video of you like going like towards the end. I found that incredibly demoralising. What you do on Runner is incredibly positive, but when I watched that, it made me feel incredibly low. I just thought, how can somebody feel like that at that stage of the marathon? And then I spoke to you about it, and you said, I wasn't like that the whole way. But the fact that you were able to do that, it was. I'm going to tell you this now. I'm sure people at the office that work for you, they've got to be supportive regardless of your behaviour. I thought it was disgusting. It was horrible.
Well,
I don't think it's
thanks so much for
motivation.
coming on the podcast. Next week.
No, it was good. It was good, but I found it horrific to watch. And these guys, I'm sure you agree, don't you? Yeah.
So,
Yes.
what's your next goal?
Do you mean running wise?
Have you done your marathons now? Feet up and you're done? Or like, what do you want to achieve with your running between now and the next 40 years?
So, even though I trained for this marathon, after I did the London Marathon last year, I took a break from running, and then that sort of it went longer and longer and longer, and then, I spoke to you, Anya, when I first started thinking about training for this marathon, and although I did a training block, I was going from what I would argue is a standing start. I was doing like running every now and again, but I what I would like to do is get to a point where I start to train for a race where I'm already a runner, like where I'm regularly running. So I want to be, I've sort of tried to, in my head, think about what my regular week would be. And I think my default setting going forward now, whether I'm training for a race or not, is running 4 times a week. I think that is now my life. I feel like that feels comfortable. It does everything I need it to do. How hard I'm pushing myself on that is dependent on what's going on. But I think that is what I'm going to be doing. And the honest truth is, I know I'm on the Runna Podcast, but that is thanks to the app. I mean, I feel like, putting, the way that it structured me through my training, I now feel like I can go, I want to take a little bit of time off this distance. Let me focus on that for the next few weeks. Or I want to be able to do this and feel comfortable. Let me try that for a bit. Or, that's kind of the aim now. And I've already signed up for a half marathon in September. And when I finished the London Marathon, I texted my agent on the way home because I was gutted about my time. I said, I'm never doing this again. And then the charity got in touch with me and said, after the London Marathon, he said, you're never going to do it again. Is that true? And then I said, "I'll just let me think about it for a bit." So I don't know. I feel like straight afterwards, I was like, I'm never going to do it again. But now, as you talk to me now, I feel like I probably might.
Let's leave it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
I'll do the London Marathon again if you do the stand-up gig.
Oh, we've already shaken on that.
Oh, so you're already in? Okay, well then I'm in.
I'm a man of my word.
Okay, well I'm
so
doing
I actually shook hands with one of our engineers about a year ago.
Yeah.
We did a team 5K race and went out for a pizza afterwards. It was an all-you-can-eat Gordon Ramsay pizza place.
Yeah.
We just keep getting slices. I bet that I could do 20 slices of pizza, and if I did, he had to get a Runner tattoo to match mine. I ate 23 slices of pizza and some ice cream, and he's yet to get his tattoo.
Really?
So I wind him up for that every day for shaking my hand on that. But so I wouldn't let you down.
So you are doing it.
I'll
yeah.
be doing that.
Well, I got. My wife and I agreed to get tattoos of our son's name, and on our bodies. Obviously, where else would you get it?
On someone else.
On him. we want to see
like a name tag at school. On the back of the neck.
Yeah. Just so everybody.
Yeah.
I found.
So anyway, I got mine done, and she's yet to. He's 15. I got mine.
Do you ever
done.
get confused that you are now your son's name?
No, well, I've got. This is the other thing is I've got 2 of them on me now. I've not got the third.
Oh God!
He's 10.
Are they like aware?
Yeah, they talk about it quite a lot. I mean, it's something my children like. Their love language is sort of rinsing each other, and so they'll say stuff like, "Imagine having that haircut," or "Imagine going outside looking like that." And one of the things they say, "Imagine not having a tattoo on Dad." imagine Dad not loving you enough to get a tattoo of you on him. So that is a thing I've got to address. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. Well, we'll stay tuned for September and
Thanks.
for future marathon endeavours.
Yeah, sure.
But we're going to segue over to Steph with our coaching tip of the week.
Today's tip is all about hill running. If you're new to hill sessions, they can actually feel quite daunting to begin with. Start off with a gentle incline and build up to those steeper hills. If you aren't sure on how to pace it, then start off slow and build your effort with each rep. Before you know it, you'll be flying up the hills like a pro.
Thanks for that, Steph. I'm going to bring us back with our discussion sent in from one of our lovely runners. Ben, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so for context, we have our support section in the app where you can message in at any time and send us a question. So we thought this would be one that maybe you could share from personal experience.
Sure.
Any advice?
Okay.
This was a genuine message sent in via the runner support section, and I am not lying. My marriage is planned after 6 months, and I want to get in shape and get fit for my husband. As after marriage, we will be getting intimate with each other. So I want to work on getting myself ready for that and all of the strain of the functions. Which plan should I choose?
Strain of the function. What does that mean?
What's your advice, Romesh?
I look. This is not helpful for you guys in terms of a training plan, but I don't think you should train for straight after because you don't want to raise expectation. Like, do you know what I mean?
Oh, you mean build up over your career?
Well, what I'm saying is that if like around the straight after the wedding, you're absolutely like fireworks, like smashing it, like twerking all over the shop, then that is what your partner is going to expect going forward. What I think you need to do is go in pretty low key. Do you know what I mean? And just be sort of whatever you are, and then you can work on getting. You don't want to go all in like.
So almost start the training plan on wedding day.
Yeah, I think you just go. You know, just go do what you do, what you'd regularly do, how you'd normally do it, and then go. And then go. What did you think of that? And then, you just have an honest chat about it because you're married. Like, it's all about honesty, isn't it? And then you go, we'll work on it together. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you prefer? More stamina, or would you like me to, because there's 2 ways you can go.
Is it marathon training or a 5K plan?
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? Like, are you wanting, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my hands. Do you want it to be like bang, bang, bang? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that what you want? Like, in which case I would say like maybe hill running, but or if you like, if you're looking for like all night long, right? It's a quote Lionel Richie. Then you want to do like endurance training, don't you?
So
because
you don't know what do you recommend?
I think you just look if you want. It depends what you want from the session. If you want it to be like intense but quick, then I think it's explosive training, like sprint stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're saying you want to like put some music on in the background, that's your idea of a great. For me, I'm busy. As is my wife. So actually, the shorter the time, the better. Like, I would say it's not outside the realms of possibility for my wife during the act to say something like, could you finish up? Do you know what I mean? Because you've got stuff to do.
Well, you've been on the marathon plan. That's why.
So I think it depends what you want. I don't know what this is, but like, it depends what you want. Do you want quick, explosive, or do you want long, sustenance? Oh, anyway,
Nice.
That's what you should.
All right, thank you for the advice. Anya, should we go for this or that?
Let's do that. Okay, I will move us on swiftly to this or that.
Yeah.
Rum, would
Yeah.
you rather a tough crowd for a gig or a dodgy stomach for a marathon?
Oh, tough crowd for a gig in a heartbeat. Really? Yeah, because I feel like tough crowd for a gig. First of all, that's quite a nice little challenge. Do you know what I mean? And also, a tough crowd for a gig sort of gives you an excuse. If you're on a tour show, I guess you're just on your
You can't
own.
blame the audience. I've heard comedians say that.
A lot of comedians do blame the audience. Yeah, I'll name them for you afterwards. The ones that tend to say that.
Would you?
Let me say to those comedians that say that, it's not the audience's fault. Would I say what? Sorry.
Would you rather shit yourself while doing stand-up or a marathon?
Well, I was doing Southend a few years ago, and
You shit yourself.
How was your
I came
Southend?
close. Pardon?
How was your Southend? Of you?
Oh, that was good. Bloody hell, Anya!
Annie, you can join me for
Bloody
my
hell,
stand-up
that was-
performance.
Jesus Christ, you're like Tim Vine. Threw a little pun in there. How was your Southend? Waka waka. It was so unexpected, if you don't mind me saying.
You were like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, she's
No,
funny.
no, it's not that. It's just it was a bit of an end
Okay,
of
I'll
the.
say it with more confidence.
Yeah.
delivery.
The way you delivered it was a bit ended. Like you got just.
You were almost surprised at yourself.
How was your Southend? You've got to go like you've got to deliver it like how was your Southend? And maybe look to the camera. Do you give it another go?
I can't act.
No, but just like deliver it like it's a joke. You could go like, I'll just how was your Southend? Like that. Try that.
And Rum,
Yeah.
how was your Southend?
Yeah, it's good. It's close enough. No, but what happened was I'd had a curry the night, or maybe I'd had a curry earlier that day, or the night before, and so I did the first half of the show fine, and then we had the interval, and like there's like an intro song at the end of the interval before about to go on, and I stood by the side of the stage, and tour manager said to me, "Right, Rom, like we're a minute from going," and as soon as he said that, I like immediately needed to go, like so urgently. But then I was like, we've started like the music now. So I went out on stage and I thought, hopefully, so they have this thing called Doctor Theatre where no matter how ill you're feeling, as soon as you go on stage, it sort of goes. So I was just relying on Doctor Theatre to get me out of it. But it didn't. I really needed to shit for the duration of like the whole of the second half. So then I was walking around going, this is really bad. And normally if something happens in the room, I'll react to it. But this time I was like, I'm rattling through this show. I don't care if somebody catches fire. Like, I'm going to get through this. But then it got so desperate. Like, I would say, like genuinely, I would say, this is how desperate it was. I would say you could argue that I was having a shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how close I was. Do you know what I mean? Like,
So were you like really backed up against the wall in case anything happened?
well, no, I was
that
sort
no
of,
one
I
could
was,
see
walk,
from a
I was
peripheral?
walking around, but like, it was really like,
Turtle heading.
yeah, like, I would say it was the start of the shell. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then for a big portion of the show, I genuinely debated just shitting myself and carrying on. Because
It would have got some laughs for sure.
Yeah. But I just thought, but I was sort of like, if I just shat myself, like I was wearing quite like slim cut jeans. I thought if I just shat myself, it would just sort of fill the back of my jeans, and then I would just perform front on for the rest of the show, and it'd probably be all right. But then I thought the front row are quite close to me, so they're going to start to smell it. And also,
Imagine the heckles.
and then the other thing I thought was I just the thought of like taking a step and some of it coming out of the bottom of my trouser leg. I just don't think, because then what happens is you've shat yourself, but also then they're aware that you've tried to continue having shat yourself. I think that's
Also, there'll have been a moment where you were delivering a joke while also pushing it out.
yeah. I know,
Which maybe took away from the joke in retrospect.
Yeah, I know. Like if there's a little bit, like if it needed a push to the finish.
Okay, next one.
Is it normally like this podcast? It's quite bass.
Would you rather have Shake It Off by Taylor Swift playing on repeat for the full marathon, or listen to one of your old maths lessons on loop?
God, Shake It Off, 100%. I can't listen to my voice. I've never watched a single thing I've ever done. I can't listen to myself. It's just horrible. And I do think listening to a song over and over again is quite reassuring. Do you know what I mean? Shake It Off's a great song. Taylor Swift's a great artist. I once had a terrible gig, and I listened to. Do you know? So when I was like trying to sign with my agents, they like send you out on gigs, and then they get gig reports, and they like make a decision about whether they want to sign you or not. And it's like one of the first times they'd asked me to do a gig, and I died on my arse so badly, like to the point where when I said I've been Romesh Ranganathan and clicked the mic back into the sound, they didn't applaud. Like I could just hear my own footsteps leaving the stage. And then I got into the car and I was like so devastated because I was like, this agent are never going to want to have anything to do with me. And then I listened to, so do you know Power of Love, Huey Lewis and the News? It's from the Back to the Future soundtrack.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. But that song, have you watched Back to the Future?
No.
Have you watched Back to the Future?
No.
Are you shitting me? Neither of you watched Back to the Future?
I haven't watched any films. If you ask me any film, I probably haven't.
No, but
watched
Back
it.
to the Future. Have you watched Back to the Future? Great. Have you watched Back to the Future? Yeah. It's one of sorry guys. Sorry guys.
Younger than us.
Guys, Back to the Future is one of the greatest film trilogies of all time. And you've not watched it.
Well, we've got homework now.
Well, you need to. Well, it's not going to hold up now. It's made in the 80s. I don't know how much you're going to like it, but anyway, that film's got the song "Power of Love," Huey Lewis and the News. I listened.
Not the one that goes, "The power of love, a force from above." No.
I cannot believe the courage with which you went into.
I really held eye contact.
I've never heard that song before.
Never heard a song anything like.
Wait, Anya, how did it go? The next bit.
Sorry. The power of love, a force from above.
Yeah. Deep in my soul, make love. And then it goes like, "You're gold."
Your gold.
Something like that.
I do. There is another song called "Power of Love," but I don't recognise it from what you're saying. Do you mind if I look it up?
Anya, if you sing it, we'll Shazam it.
What? Sorry. What do you think the lyrics are? The power of love, force from above.
Force from above, deep in my soul, make love, your goal.
Make love your goal.
I don't think it's.
Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Yeah. Hold on. Okay. Should we hear the actual song?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Power of love, a force from above, deep in my soul.
Is this real? Is this all real? I often think I live in a simulation. What's that? But the people constructing my simulation have gone completely haywire.
I thought that was what you were singing, but I didn't recognise it from the way you sang
But that's
it.
a different song.
That's a different one. No, that's a different one. This one's like a bit more upbeat. But anyway, I listened to it over and over. I listened to it once to try and make me feel better, and then I felt so much better after having listened to it once. I listened to it on repeat for the entire 2 hours that I drove home. But not that.
Okay. Or Taylor Swift.
I cannot believe you just did that. Is that in character? I've seen quite a lot of you.
This is new for me.
There was nothing about you that suggested that you would just burst into song like that.
Just came over.
And you didn't even speak the lyrics. Anyway, that is a good song. The one you sung is a good song.
I'll try that one on repeat.
Okay.
Last question.
Okay.
Would you rather have high-fived every spectator on the London Marathon course or do live stand-up for all 26.2 miles?
Oh, high five every spectator.
Every single one.
Oh, I do the stand-up. So that'd be delivering comedy.
Yeah, we'll have like a reversing motorbike filming you with a microphone.
Oh, I'd rather do that. I think because like there's so many people. How many people are watching?
Yeah.
Like it's too much.
Yeah, you get very sore.
And also, did COVID not happen? do you know what I mean? You're high-fiving every single person. It's just become like case zero for a whole new wave. No, thank you. But yeah, it'd be stand-up.
Well, our final question
Yeah.
that we like to ask everyone who comes on the Runner Podcast
Yeah.
is if you could design your dream race, how far would it be? Where would it be? What would the food and drink be at the finish line? And who is giving out the award?
Where would it be? Okay. So, okay, the distance would be half marathon, because I think that's sort of challenging but not killer. I'm trying to think of a not route one thing to say for where it would be, because everywhere that you think would be cool, it's probably too hot. I would go for New York. I know that there's a marathon there, but
There is also a half, yeah.
there's also a half.
That's okay.
Okay, all right, fine. Thank you, Anya. Is it normal to get heckled when you're doing that?
Wrong. Try again.
So half marathon in New York.
Yeah.
But the whole way along, there's just like, it's just hip hop the whole way along. New York's the birthplace of hip hop, right?
Is
So
Anya one of the artists?
Pardon?
Anya's one of those hip hop artists.
Yeah. Can you deliver? You could sing a hook on something, but just like, so you'd have the story of hip hop being pumped into the thing as you go around, right? So you got all the different boroughs. So you'd have like hip hop from different boroughs as you go through that borough. And then it'd be chronological and stuff like that. So it'd be like a hip hop half is what we'd call it. At the end, everyone would be served my mum's aubergine curry because it is really yum. And what was the last bit?
Who gives out the award?
Oh, who gives out the award? Probably Kendrick Lamar. Oh no, actually, Kendrick Lamar and Doechii. They're both together presenting the award.
Well, we could take you along to the New York Half next year if you fancy it.
I'd love that. I'm sorry that I came up with one that already exists, Anya. What's the most? What have people said anything like mad, like space or anything?
People have come up with like random things.
We've had like multidiscipline courses where
Like
you
with
like
water
kayak over
slides.
to an island
Oh
and then.
God, mine's a bit shit then, isn't it?
No, but yours was doing fantastic.
I think
Thanks.
mine was London Marathon.
Yeah, we just rerouted London Marathon around Battersea Park and Hyde Park for
Yeah.
Anya.
Oh, okay. So
And mine was a lap of Richmond Park, so
was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So I'm not.
You're not
I'm
as
as
bo-
much
you're not
of a
as boring
prick
as
as Anya made it out that I was. Actually, they already do a half in New York, so thanks for trying.
On that note, thanks for coming on, Rum.
The power of love.
we want to wish you all the best
Thank
with
you.
all of your running. And I
Thanks
think
very much.
everything you've achieved already is incredible. To think that you knew you could run a marathon and
Yeah.
the only variable was the time, I think just speaks for how far you've come. And we can't wait to see where you go next.
Well, look, in all seriousness, the Runner app has been incredible. Thank you so much for all of your help. It has, I would say it's kind of been like life-changing in terms of like, as a result of using the app, I can't see, as long as I'm able, I think I'll regularly be running. And that is, a huge part of that is down to using the app. And Annie, you've been absolutely amazing as a support as well. So thank you very much. I thought it was an elitist thing and now I don't. So thank you.
Everyone's a runner.
Well, not everyone. There's some people shouldn't.
Right, we'll stop. The end. Today's podcast is powered by Runner. Runner is the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide And whatever your running goal, whether you're looking to do your first 5K, improve your time over the 10K, or even run a marathon or an ultramarathon, we'll build you the personalized training for you to help you get there and enjoy the process along the way. If you want to download the Runner app, you'll get 2 weeks for free with code podcast25. And if you're already a Runner customer, you can head to the premium offers section where we've got a 15% off discount for you off any of our Runner merchandise.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, subscribe. And if you loved it, give us a 5-star rating. And we'll be back next week with another inspiring guest. See you then.